Hello and welcome to another episode of We Watch TV, the podcast about the TV that we watch. My name is Daniel, and as always, I'm joined by Hope.
Hey.
On this episode of the podcast, we're going to talk about some of the shows we've been watching recently, such as The Mandalorian Season 3, the conclusion to Special Forces, and then later in the episode, we're going to go on a little bit of an 80s and 90s nostalgia trip through cartoons and other childhood shows that we watched, and have our minds blown by some deep Fraggle Rock lore.
Life-changing.
But before we do all of that, we have to address the elephant in the room. Hope movie cheated on me this weekend.
I did.
Not just watching a movie that we both hadn't seen, but actually going as far as to buy tickets and snacks in an actual physical movie theater.
Yes.
Now, lots of you, many of you would probably say, Daniel, what's the big deal with all this? That happens all the time. Okay, but let me take you back to 2004 and a little film, a classic film, classic Nicolas Cage film called National Treasure. Now, I got dragged to that film by my family, and we had been together for all of 6 months.
You said you would see it with me.
And here we are, 2023, 19 years later, and every time that movie comes up in casual conversation, which, by the way, comes up more often than you would think, I'm told, hey, do you remember that time you went to see National Treasure without me?
Yeah, but you knew I wanted to see National Treasure, and I told you I was going to see Antman without you. You knew.
Excuses.
You knew.
So anyways, you went and saw, and let me get the name of the movie right, Antman and Wasp, Quantumania,
yes.
Which is a Marvel. What'd you think?
Okay, so I'm just going to call it Antman because the title of this movie is way too long. I thought it was good. This is the third Antman movie, and just like the other two, I feel like it's a little bit lighter in tone, funnier than some of the other Marvel movies, especially some of the Marvel movies as of late. Like even like Doctor Strange, the recent Doctor Strange that came out last spring, while it was, part of this next phase of Marvel, it still was very deep, I thought. A little bit more serious in tone, whereas Ant-Man, it's always funny. There's a lot of good callbacks to the first one. Baskin Robbins, Scott, that's his name, right? Yeah, Scott makes an appearance. I thought it was great. Like, I thought it was funny. I really enjoyed it. I could see why some people might criticize it a little bit, just because the bar for these Marvel movies have been set so high that everybody's expecting each movie to be like Endgame. And I think people need to realize that we're in the next phase. We're building up things, and, not everything is going to be just like snatch your wig, crazy town. And I thought it was just the epitome of a fun Marvel movie. I thought it was funny. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. Would I say for somebody, if you're debating whether to go to the theater or, wait, I feel like Disney Plus barely makes you even wait that long anymore. I would say it just depends on your preference. If you want to go to the theater and have that experience, that's fine. But if you think you could wait, I'm not going to say it's a movie that you absolutely need to see in the theater right away. And I did go in promising that I would see this with you. You knew I was going to see it. And
you said we'd see it this weekend.
It's not my fault we can't see it this weekend. Unfortunately, I have the vid, so that's why my voice sounds a little weird. But really depends, Daniel. What do you think? Do you want to see it in the theater, or do you want to?
I mean, for me, it's like, considering what you've told me, which we generally align pretty well on Marvel movies. Like, our opinions are usually pretty close together. And what I've heard online, I will probably at this point just wait, because we're so busy. It's going to be such a pain in the butt to even get out to the theater at this point.
It was a fun movie, and I really liked it. I'm glad I saw it in theaters, but I also don't think it's one that you absolutely have to. I know my friends and I that I went to see it with, shout out to Kaylin and shout out to Sarah Beth, we were talking about how this next phase of these Marvel movies, pretty much like, not only do you have to watch all the Marvel movies, but you have to really watch all the TV shows now to really kind of be caught in the loop. There's a lot of references we talked a lot about in one of our previous episodes of We Watch TV that we're both really excited for Loki coming up. This one definitely ties in a lot to Loki. I haven't even seen, as Daniel likes to point out, the cartoon show one, What If, right? That's what it's called. But I know like little bits about that. Like Doctor Strange tied in with that a little bit. This one also ties in with that. Loki, of course, plays a part in it. And I think like Kaylin thinks that Marvel's taken a big gamble, like making it so not only do you have to watch the movies now, but you also have to watch the TV shows.
But let me ask you, do you think specifically for this one, for the new Ant-Man movie, do you think that somebody going in who's not familiar with the TV shows, maybe they haven't even seen all of the movies, do you think this still, they like Ant-Man, they've seen the other two Ant-Mans, are they still going to enjoy this? I
mean, Sarah Beth is a perfect example. That's my other friend that went with us. She has not seen Loki or a lot of the Marvel TV shows, but she has seen all the Marvel movies, and she still really enjoyed it. And didn't question. We kind of had to explain to her, like, hey, this is why you're seeing this dude. So, yeah, honestly, though, like, I've always been the type that I was always confused, I guess, with the first Marvel movies where people would go watch, like, Endgame and they didn't see, like, Black Panther or they didn't see Ant-Man before. And because I always felt like you kind of needed to see all those.
I remember when I think it was Endgame was coming out, they had become such a big deal, like, just culturally, that like even my mother even asked us, hey, do I need to go watch all these other movies to understand what this is about? And she's not the kind of person that usually like gets into that stuff, but it had just permeated everything so much that even my mother, my now 70-year-old mother, was asking, hey, should I like catch up on all this stuff?
And I think what Kaylin was mentioning about the TV shows, because it's one thing to do movies, but then put the TV shows for a like Disney Plus platform that you're paying for. And at the same time, I could be like, from a marketing standpoint, with, hey, it's going to get people to pay for Disney Plus. But I do think I agree with her that it is kind of a gamble, but I also think it's also a good way to get people to watch your content. And I don't know. It depends on how much deeper they delve into it. Right now, it's been like pieces. You're getting more and more. You got a little bit more pieces from it. It depends on, I think, like how full-blown serious they want to be. Like Doctor Strange, for example, if you didn't watch WandaVision, you were probably super confused with you're probably like, what is Wanda's problem?
Right.
And that one, like, I could see people being really confused, like, well, how did she go from that to this? So, yeah, I do think it's a gamble.
I would say if
I kind of like it that they're looping it in, though.
Yeah, I like it. I would say if there's anybody out there on the fence with it about, do I really want to delve in and watch all of this stuff? Yeah. I'd say Loki is by far and away the one that's going to play the biggest role going forward in the movies and in the shows. And that would probably be the one you would want to watch. And then the other ones, like obviously The Marvels is coming out later this summer, and Ms. Marvel is in that movie. Well, if you want to understand what she's all about, you might want to watch the show.
And her show is good. It got better with each episode. I'll say one thing, too, about the TV show aspect. I used to be big into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know you watched that for a while as well with me before you got bored of it. And one of our biggest issues was that the show never tied into the movies the way I would have liked to have seen it. So for me, I get that it's a gamble that they're taking, but I kind of like it that they're mixing it.
With Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think the problem was they set the expectations high, because that first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
was great.
Really tied into to what it was, Captain America, Winter Soldier.
Yeah, one of the Captain Americas. It's been so long.
It really tied in and had a huge impact on the story. And as the seasons went on, it kind of dropped off and became less relevant. And that's where I kind of started falling off from the show as well. So I think there's enough, and there's too much, and there's not enough, and I think it's going to be interesting to see them walk that tightrope.
How they balance it.
Yeah, here in the next couple of years. So other than that, what we've been watching this week?
Oh, so you're not going to accuse me of any more movie cheating? Because I also cheated on you and watched another movie, too.
Those movies are on Disney Plus. I could watch them on my own if I wanted to.
I also watched Lightyear. Very good. I don't know why everyone gave it crap. Highly recommended. I think what people aren't understanding about that movie is that it is about the man that inspired the creation of the Buzz Lightyear toy. And I really liked it. I think you'll really like it too, Daniel.
Cool. I will watch it.
So let us know if you've ever movie cheated on your spouse. That being said, you knew I was going to see Ant-Man. You saw National Treasure without telling me, and I'll never live that down.
No, I was being dragged to a movie. It just was like, hey, do y'all want to go see a movie?
Anyway, moving on.
Plus, the movie theater didn't have Sour Jack, so it's not like it was that much of a cheating.
That's true.
Anybody knows where I can get a hold of Sour Jacks? Let me know.
Not
because
Sour
they
Patch
are,
Kids.
Not Sour Patch Kids. Sour
Jacks.
Jacks, because they are extinct in the part of the world that
Do
we're
y'all
from.
remember Blockbuster? You used to be able to go into Blockbuster and you could get like a plastic like bin or tub kind of Sour Jacks.
It was a wheel of Sour Jacks.
What a time to be alive.
It was amazing. It was an amazing time. So, okay, what we've been watching this week. I think we got to start with the big one.
All right, Mandalorian
Season 3, Episode 1. What'd you think?
Episode 1 premiere. Pretty much exactly what I talked about in the previous thing. My thing, if you did not watch Boba Fett, you're going to be so confused. And that's one of the criticisms that I've seen online of Mandalorian only watchers, because they didn't make no explanation of how Grogu is back with Mando.
They did, actually. They did as much explanation as they gave for why
about
Palpatine.
A throwaway line.
As much explanation in this movie, in this show, about why Grogu is back as they did with Palpatine being back in Episode 9. Somehow he's back. Or it's like, and then this one, it was like, he came back to me. Like, okay, he's a boomerang.
Yeah, like, if you didn't watch... And I really, like, I'm to the point where the last couple episodes of Boba Fett, I keep thinking, like, oh, we've already had season 3 of Mandalorian. That's how important that was. And I really think if you need to go back and watch that if you are expecting. I would say in terms of premieres, it was short. It was a very short episode. I was like, that's it? What, it was like 38 minutes long, maybe?
It's like, for season openers, there's kind of two different ways you can go about doing them. You can either jump right back into the storyline because you left it on a cliffhanger, or some time has passed, and so you feel like the first episode's got to be just establishing all these new
and that they're just
things.
kind of building on this.
And that's what this episode was. It wasn't the worst
flashy
episode ever. It wasn't the best episode ever. It just established where everybody is and what they've been up to, and explained why certain characters weren't around anymore in the world, in the universe, not in the actual world. You get to see Apollo Creed again. And so, yeah, it wasn't like the best episode of Mandalorian ever, but I don't know. They're setting some stuff up for
a
the
lot
season.
of Grogu cuteness.
Yeah.
Which is always good to see.
It's good to see, but at some point, the show has got to move beyond depending on Grogu cuteness.
Oh, they had a little self-aware moment, though, where he's like, his name is Grogu now, because I forgot that Apollo Creed didn't know that his name was Grogu. And he's like, if you say so. And I thought that was a wink at the fans, since so many people still call him
Baby Yoda. Yeah, exactly.
But I think Mando's going to pick up. I think, like you said, this was just very much, okay, we're setting the stage for this season. So it wasn't the flashiest, craziest episode. I would have liked to seen more from that, but then again, I was also really tired when I watched it too.
It's funny that you say it was a short episode, because they did go a lot of places. It was like the whole episode was them traveling to places to talk to people about things. And I don't know, it was very...
When those credits rolled, though, I was like, what?
Yeah. I mean, you're also on a lot of medication right now. So.
Yeah.
And then actually, we just finished watching the end of Special Forces.
Yes.
Special Forces.
Yes.
Which was actually 2 more episodes. Last time we talked
wrong.
to you guys, we thought it was just 1 more episode. Although I will note, I thought it was odd that 9 was the last episode, so they did round it out to 10.
They stretched it out a bit, and again, I really enjoyed that show. I thought it was, I like competition type shows and kind of seeing that Special Forces work that they do and some of the different stunts. I thought, let's see here, we'll go ahead and spoil the ending. Hannah Brown, former Bachelorette, and Carly Lloyd, soccer player, they won, essentially. I felt like Danny quit with 5 hours to go.
Yeah, he quit with 5 hours to go.
He just couldn't take the screaming.
And they pulled Dwight Howard with like an hour and a half to go because he just answered their interrogation questions.
Yeah, Dwight failed the
essentially
interrogation
in real world scenario got himself killed. Yeah. So but he was out.
I can tell you this, I'm not a big NBA person, so I don't really know about these people, but there's something about putting these NBA players in reality shows that I like, and then I love them. Like Dancing with the Stars, Iman, am I saying his name right?
Yes.
He won, not this past season, but the season before. Didn't know who he was. Well, I mean, I knew who he was, but like I don't really pay attention to the NBA. Love him. I knew Dwight Howard. Like I know the name. Didn't really know much about him. I think he's hilarious. So if you're like root for a team and you can't stand Dwight Howard, sorry. I think he's funny on this show. He'd be somebody I would want to have like around for humor on that.
Would you watch a second season of this show?
Yes, I would actually. I think that they could do different stunts, and I think it's nice to see. I mean, of all the people, I wouldn't have guessed that the former Bachelorette would have been the winner of it. You know, I would have thought one of the Olympians would have won.
It was down to the wire for most of them, but
yeah.
And I think the interesting thing about it was what won it for Hannah and Carly was the mental aspect.
Yes.
In fact, neither of them excelled.
I mean, Hannah did pretty good.
She did well with the physical
Carly
stuff.
failed a lot of the tasks, but she still stuck it out and didn't let it get to her. Hannah did a better on some of the tasks, but then you could tell like she would get a little emotional at times. But.
Yes, yeah. So I enjoyed the show. Like I said last week, it's a good break from some of the stuff you watch that I don't even join in on because, like, The Bachelor is just a little too far for me. Give me Joe Millionaire any day of the week over The Bachelor.
I don't think they're doing another Joe Millionaire.
Yeah, they're not going to do another Joe Millionaire. Anything else? I think that's the only two things we had to talk about.
Yeah, I can't. Oh, I do have one little thing to mention that I took a screenshot here for because this podcast just keeps coming up with stuff here. So we talked about, let's go back to Mean Girls. Remember Don Cheadle's not in Mean Girls. They're making the Mean Girls musical movie.
Correct.
We also talked about Emily in Paris in our recent episode. Well, Ashley Park, who plays Mindy, Emily's roommate from Emily in Paris, she is going to be on the Mean Girls. She's joined the Mean Girls movie cast. It says, breaking, fetch is happening. Ashley Park has joined the Mean Girls movie cast. So it's just another thing of how everything is connected.
How exciting. Some good news that we actually got recently. Season 5 of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is coming April 14th.
Is it season 5 or season 4?
Season 5.
Season 5, wow. April 14th. That's a good day.
Now, there's bad news to go along with it. It is the final season.
Yes. I didn't know that was going to be the final season.
I didn't either. It kind of just came out when they announced the show. I will say it doesn't hurt me a lot because when shows I like end, and I still like them, because we have this tendency in the United States to beat our shows to death to the point where they're unrecognizable from how they started. So if you can give me 5 solid seasons, I'll take
like
that.
I wanted more from this, though. So we're really going to have to see how they do. And I didn't even realize that they were... I mean, why, Daniel, is April 14th such a great day for that day?
That's your birthday.
It's my birthday.
It's a present for you.
I won't be here to watch it, so we'll have to wait. But
oh, that's right. You'll be...
You don't have to say where I'm going to be.
You'll be you'll be out of town.
I'll be out of town again. So maybe I'll be movie cheating some more.
Don't bring diseases back with you this time, please.
I also brought you those really good sunglasses that I picked out.
That's true. You did. You brought me gifts. I will accept.
I did.
Them.
I brought you those gifts besides germs. Okay, so this next little bit that is going to take up 15 minutes?
About 15 minutes, yeah.
About 15 minutes. We recorded this on the fly. We were watching TikTok. We saw something groundbreaking that we learned about Fraggle Rock and some origins there. And Daniel got out the microphones. We set it up. So we filmed or recorded this before I left for my trip. So it's been a couple weeks now. But we had to record. I hope you guys enjoy this trippy little pivot down the wormhole of craziness of 80s, 90s television shows for kids.
Okay, so TikTok just destroyed me.
And me. We randomly decided to record a section for our upcoming podcast right now, weeks ahead of time, because this is just earth-shattering news for both of us.
Do you remember Fraggle Rock?
Fraggle Rock. If you were an elder millennial, maybe even a young Gen Xer, you've got to remember Fraggle Rock. They're like part of the Muppets.
Do you remember? Okay, we got to reverse back actually here. Okay, so I did something for Hope for Christmas.
Yes, last year.
There was a hazy memory both of us had.
That we weren't sure if it was real or a fever dream.
Of this Muppet, not the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Which is a classic, and we love it. Classic. And it's amazing on every level, but this one was different.
The Muppet, what is it called?
It's called A Muppet Family Christmas.
A Muppet Family Christmas. Both of us had like this hazy memory of this thing existing.
We were like, you remember that movie where like the Muppets were hanging out with like Big Bird and the Fraggle Rock people? Was that real? And then he remembered it. I remembered it vaguely.
And so
it came out in 1987.
I remember watching it. Mom had a VHS copy of it, and the quality of it was just awful.
I feel like we had recorded it on our VCR.
Yeah.
Like we used to, that's how I watched it when I was little.
I found it on archive.org. I found it was clearly somebody who had recorded it on VHS off of TV, some probably point in the 90s, uploaded it eventually to the internet. Terrible quality, like really looks bad. So I found a copy of it, and we watched it, and we've been watching it for Christmases.
Yeah,
no big deal.
Watched it again this year.
And the Muppets are there, Sesame Street's there.
We didn't make it up. Sesame Street's
there.
The
Fraggle Rock folks are there for a little bit. There. And the only human in it is this guy called Doc.
Yeah, and his dog.
Who's a Muppet. The dog is a Muppet. But
the snowman from a Muppet Family, or not a Muppet Family Christmas, that's what we're watching from, a Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah, but the snowman is from that.
Yeah, I know.
Then ends up in Muppet Family Christmas.
Yeah, I guess I reversed it. But that's like the origin of the snowman. But anyway, back to Doc.
So anyways, back to TikTok. Because, of course.
We're doing our evening mindless scrolling on TikTok, and my TikTok algorithm is a lot of like, crazy stuff,
nostalgia,
and it was Fraggle Rock, so I'm like
the theme
bumping
song,
out to the theme song,
theme to Fraggle Rock,
because it's a banger. And Daniel's like, wait a minute, stop that. He's like, is that the guy from that A Muppet Family Christmas? And I'm like, oh my gosh, it is.
And the dog
too. So off to IMDb we go. IMDb,
the Internet Movie Database.
And Doc apparently was a main character in Fraggle Rock. So I did some extra research real quick. It says Doc is an inventor.
I have no memory of this.
Me either. I don't remember him being an inventor in the Christmas movie.
I don't remember him being in anything other than that.
Yeah, me too.
A fever dream of a Christmas special.
Doc is an inventor and the only regular human character in Fraggle Rock, as well as the only character who appeared in every single episode. He lives with his dog and best friend, Sprocket.
He's in it more than the Fraggles.
Who is also in the Christmas movie. So, because at first we were like, oh my gosh, we were like, did the Muppet Family Christmas movie, like, was Fraggle Rock a spinoff of that? Was that where the Fraggles were first introduced? Because you have to understand, while we both remember the theme song of Fraggle Rock, our memories are very fuzzy because we were very young when that show aired, like basically babies.
We probably watched most of it in reruns, to be honest.
Yeah, and a lot of it was just like, again, that fever dream, like, was this real? Like, I definitely remember, like, the Muppet Babies little cartoon show in my prime.
They did the Star Wars episode.
Yes, they did, of course. And
they should have done a Star Trek episode.
He has to get a Star Trek in every podcast. But, like, this one, we were like, I don't know, one year we were, like, randomly talking. We were like, hey, remember?
Did they do a Star Trek episode?
I don't think so. We'll have to look that up. Back on topic. We were like, I was like, I think I dreamed it once that the Muppets were hanging out with the Sesame Street gang and Fraggle Rock people were there. And Daniel's like, no, I watched that too. And we knew we didn't have the same dream. But until this day, at the time of this recording, it is approximately 11:03, February 21st, 2023. I always thought Doc was just some rando dude that Fozzie's mom rented her house out to and that celebrated Christmas with the Muppets. I had no idea that he was connected. I mean, did he act like he knew who we need to go back and watch that. Did he act like he knew who the Fraggles were?
He didn't interact with them.
Did he? Not?
No, he did not.
We're going to have to watch a Christmas movie like in March or something.
Why do I have this image in my mind of a Muppet baby with Geordie LaForge's visor on?
Now I have that image too. We have veered, as we do on this show, drastically off topic. So now I'm going to Google that.
It can't be real.
Suddenly I'm having the same thing happen to me too.
This can't be real. Is it real?
The Muppet Babies comic book number 13. There's a comic book.
I didn't read the Muppet Babies comic book.
Apparently the comic book included a Star Trek story out of this world. The story featured Kermit as Captain Kermit, Gonzo as Spock, Ralph as Scotty.
Well, that's original stuff.
Scooter and Skeeter as Sulu. Okay, so, well, that's it. Yeah, that said Muppets. Muppet Babies, episode 708, Muppet Babies, The Next Generation.
Did they really?
I don't know.
I didn't dream it.
So, but no, I'm starting to remember it too. So
again, I didn't dream that.
So just like we didn't dream up the Muppet Family Christmas. So this episode, Muppet Baby. Okay, here we go. Muppet Babies, The Next Generation. This is all happening live in real time, by the way. As we're uncovering this information, the babies try to imagine what the future will be like and end up performing parodies of multiple space programs. The babies imagine themselves in science fiction extravaganza. Kermit, Piggy, Scooter, and Skeeter are the Space Tons, a parody of the Jetsons, and Ralph is their dog, Ralpho. The Space Tons want to give Ralpho a bath, which upsets him, but nobody can understand what he's saying. Gonzo and Fozzie, portraying Han Solo and Chewbacca the Wookiee, crash their spaceship into the living room.
So this is wholly different from the actual regular Star Wars.
Yeah, they had another one of Star Wars, because wasn't Gonzo Darth Vader in that?
Who knows?
And the final scene, oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down. I'm not going to read you the entire
What a
synopsis.
moment in television history this must have been.
Where's the part with Star Trek, though? Because I'm just seeing...
Did they not do Star Trek?
It's
too much to ask that they would have done Battlestar Galactica, right? It would have been the old Battlestar, not the one you're familiar with.
They are totally doing Star Trek, because somebody I see the pictures.
It's just got George LaForge's visor.
Look. I can't show you guys on here, but look.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Well, on that note.
Yes.
Maybe we'll do this episode as like a childhood TV show. Speaking of fever dreams, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this one up, and I know the show is real because I looked it up recently. Do you remember that show on Nick Jr. with the koalas? There was two different koala shows. This is the one where she had like this pet koala, or not pet koala bear, this stuffed koala bear, but he would like come to life, and he had like a sister, and she was a pink koala bear.
Just like Australian Winnie the Pooh?
I don't know. I think it was just called The Little Koalas or something.
I don't remember that show.
I loved that show. Do you remember David the Gnome?
Of course.
And what was his fox's name? Swift. Do you remember the episode where Swift got poisoned?
Absolutely.
That one it still strikes a chord to this day.
It's traumatic.
What about Eureka's Castle?
I don't know why I said traumatic.
Traumatic.
It was traumatic.
Eureka's Castle.
You know, I know the name only because you've said it a bunch of times, but I don't think I can't in my mind's eye picture what that show looked like.
Gullah Gullah Island.
My sister watched that one.
That was like when I'd be homesick from school. I'd watch Come and Let's Play Together in the Bright Sunny Weather. Sing it, Daniel.
I was probably watching Star Trek movie reruns at that point in my life.
Gullah Gullah Island. You're probably watching what?
Star Trek movie reruns. Like, I had the videos. I had them on VHS. I never stayed homesick from school.
Oh, I'm Daniel.
I was a little wimp.
So what's another fever dream, like, while we're talking show? Like, a show that you remember vaguely? Like, I really don't think, like, Doug and the Rugrats are fever dream. Like, I distinctly remember
I have very
those.
distinct
We were
memories of those.
For those ones.
This one was just, like, kind of out of nowhere.
Gummy Bears. Do you remember that one?
No, I don't.
I remember the theme. You don't remember the theme? Dashing and daring, courageous and caring.
I do remember that, but then
they would drink the gummy bear juice and they'd bounce around.
But every time I remember that theme song, in my mind, Care Bears comes into.
No, that's not.
But it's not the same thing. I know it's not the same thing.
Different bears.
Different bears. But that's just for some reason what happens in my.
They went hard on 80s, early 90s theme songs for kids, like DuckTales.
I mean, could you leave out Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the theme songs of theme songs of the 80s?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, DuckTales, Tailspin,
yeah.
Chip and Dale, Rescue Rangers. The episode where Hope sings your favorite childhood songs very poorly.
Very poorly.
Hey. Any other shows you want to mention since Hey Dude. That's not a cartoon, but that's a great show.
Pete and Pete. I've been trying to find Pete and Pete on DVD. Impossible.
Do you know, because I just mentioned Hey Dude, and you just mentioned Pete and Pete, that Mr. Ernst is the strongest man from
Artie,
Pete and Pete.
the strongest
like
man
the same person
in the world.
The one episode of Pete and Pete I distinctly remember.
They beat up the ocean.
No, I remember the one where they all got brain freezes on that. Like it was supposed to be sort of like Orange Julius, right? Like
yeah,
that,
I think so.
Like, and then of course, anytime I watch Home Alone, every holiday season, I always see old Pete.
Oh yeah, that's right, because he's in there.
Little Pete's in the Mighty Ducks, the first
Yeah.
one. Any other? Salute Your Shorts. See, that's not really a fever dream. I absolutely know that one. I could still sing that theme song word for word. Any other like weird shows?
No,
can think
nothing
of?
I can think of. I mean, Inspector Gadget was a jam, but like I have good memories of that one.
Go, Gadget, go.
It probably doesn't hold up though. I'm gonna guess. Okay, I've watched the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles within the last year.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't. Let's not.
And it's
ruin
not terrible. It's not as good as the movie. That is our dog deciding that we should be done
my
with this.
microphone move.
It's not as good as the original movie, which is better than the second movie, and we'll have a whole lot. You need to rewatch because you're wrong.
The best of the movies is the one where they sing "Go Ninja Go."
You're wrong.
No,
That's
I'm
the
not.
second one.
I rewatched the first one like recently-ish.
No, you didn't.
Like 10 years ago, which is
okay.
recent.
So
the first one, fun fact, the first one, April O'Neil, is Marnie's mom from Halloween Town.
I am struggling to keep us on
movie.
some sort of coherent path here. So the Ninja Turtles cartoon has not aged great, but it still kind of holds up. I haven't watched Inspector Gadget since probably I was a kid. And I don't think it's... I just don't think it would hold up.
Did you ever see the live-action movie?
No.
I just remember that song.
Matthew Broderick
like
was
they
in
were
it.
saying,
I don't know why I know that. I haven't seen the movie,
Yeah.
but I know Matthew Broderick was in it.
Do you remember that song, though? That was like...
They
were like...
Gadget.
No, but they like redid the theme song, like this boy band
Oh, no.
redid it.
No. Oh, God. No.
When they were
Immediately no.
Back when they were doing that.
Immediately no.
Arthur. Did you ever watch Arthur on PBS?
Was that the Anteater kid?
The Aardvark.
Aardvark.
Yeah, there's some episode Aardvark. Where they spell Aardvark.
That one blends with Doug to me for some reason in my mind.
What?
I don't know, because there was blue people in Doug.
Skeeter and the rich girl, they were blue and Doug.
Which I don't understand.
I love Doug. Not when Doug went to Disney
Yeah,
Channel,
not when it went to
I
Disney.
liked it on Nickelodeon
It needed to be on
better.
Nickelodeon.
Magic School Bus. I read those books and watched that movie. The episode that always sticks out to me of the Magic School Bus is when Ralphie, I think that was his name, was sick and they like went into like his body and like looked at his tonsils and stuff. Do you remember that?
I remember when they went into a body. I didn't know it was somebody on
It was like her students.
one of the students. That seems like a violation.
That theme song went hard too.
Yeah.
Did Little Richard sing that theme song, or somebody that sounded like him? I gotta look that up now.
I have no idea.
Let's look. If it was, it's a singer that tried to sound like him. Magic.
Sorry for all this dead air, folks. We're just like, it's a.
Keep talking while I look it up.
It's a Tuesday night.
And we just had our world just totally like
shattered on TikTok.
Does he really not interact with the Fraggles in the movie? Like,
no,
circling back.
It's not. The movie is really generous.
We need to go back and rewatch that because now that I find out he's like a
movie is a
character.
really generous.
Oh my
term.
gosh! Little Richard does sing the Magic School Bus theme song. And on that note, I think that's probably a good time to wrap this up.
So
I don't know how we're going to insert this into anything else we've been talking about. Let us know if you remember Fraggle Rock.
To summarize, Doc and his dog in the Muppets Christmas
A Muppet Family Christmas
special,
which came out in 1987. It had the Sesame Street gang
were
join
in
Fraggle
Fraggle.
Rock.
Was the main character, was one of the main characters in the Fraggle Rock show.
Mind blown.
That I don't remember. And Little Richard sang the Magic School Bus theme song.
Yes.
Thank you all for listening.
Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope on Twitter @LilRunner or on Instagram @LilRunner1485. And Daniel is on Twitter @TheRealHoboDan. Drop us a line if you like the show or have a question you'd like us to address on a future show. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.